You should be able to discuss and interact with national affairs and interact with each other on national affairs without having to wear any party color. So I am of the belief that party does not come before country.
Okay.
So country comes first, and my
Gakeesi Tlhabiwe, welcome to the 20th Avenue podcast, bro.
Thank you very much for the invite, man.
Yeah, or you want me to call you Gakeesi G?
No, it still works. It still works.
Yeah, it's been a minute, bro.
Yeah, no, it's been a while, man. It's been years, actually.
It's been years.
Yeah. This is what you mean when you say we go way back.
We go way back. First of all, you when you were a year old.
Bro, why are we mentioning Why are we mentioning
I'm not exposing how old I am.
I know it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, no, this is how you see that we've been connected for a very long time.
Yeah. So which means the conversations are going to be deep, interesting.
Yeah, the people must forgive us if we go to 2 hours, 3 hours for this episode.
Yeah. It can be an MP3 gun.
A playlist.
Yeah. So let's start with the big elephant in the room.
Yeah.
So how's the pressure of being the son of the great Gomolemo Motswaledi?
Well, it's
actually, how's the pressure of being the son of the great Gomolemo Motswaledi?
How's the pressure?
Yeah, the pressure.
Pressure from who? Let's start there.
People are putting a lot of pressure on you, like about what? No,
well, fundamentally for me, it's I don't live by I should because everybody has their own journey.
Yeah.
And it's not to negate or not appreciate the journey of those that have come before, but it is to also realize that while we appreciate those who have come before us, God still has something uniquely for us. So pressure in the sense of I have to no. We appreciate the love, but we still move on with what God has placed for us. Yes.
Because I remember a few years ago, I think that was 2 or 3 years ago, I was at the parliament. Picture of you walking there with Honorable Winter Mulus. They're like, no, say gee, I know he's big. No, he's going to take over. What was going in your mind there when you're walking on that red carpet?
No, it was very simple and very basic. Every Motswana has a rush to be there. And so as a Motswana, I felt it necessary to be able to, if the opportunity was there, to be able to be present when the State of the Nation address is given, and to be able to interact with it on the basis of having heard it live. So that was it. The Yahoo taking over, I don't know. I was not in that conversation.
Because when people are looking at it, there's Ian Khama, the former president. His father was the president. Thabo Mbeki, former president of South Africa. Govan Mbeki's father was one of the top ANC leaders. George W. Bush, his father was the president back then. Hillary Clinton, the husband, Bill Clinton was there. So they were like, people are actually like, they're anticipating like, one day it will be announced, no, he's joining this party, he's going to be contesting in the primary elections, and then the next thing,
No. That was not the intention. That was very much not the intention. Like I said, the intention was very basic. It was to interact with national affairs. Look, I am of the belief that we should be able to discuss and interact with national affairs and interact with each other on national affairs without having to wear any party color. So I am of the belief that party does not come before country. So country comes first, and my being there, that was it. It had nothing to do with anything else.
Okay, but do you have any ambitions of becoming a politician one day? Not that because your dad was...
My brother, wait. Wait, I've got ambitions to grow my writing, to be in the creative space more, to talk more, to teach more, to a lot of that. In terms of do I want to run? Do I want to? Let's not go there yet.
Is it?
Yeah.
What if one of these parties call you, because you're all spoken like it, and you're influential? No,
no, but then we have a problem. If the basis of our, because when we talk public service, it's not a matter of kijaying or what's my card. It's a matter of serving the people. And so if the basis of my service to the people is how much I'm eating, then we have a fundamental problem that's greater than what we realize. So I do not believe that the meter or your cut is this should be a determinant on, because that compromises the sanctity of the office of public service in whatever level or form it is in.
Okay. Speaking of still in politics, like we're not talking about any political party. We're just having conversation. Do you feel like the youth is well represented, like in all the political parties, like Bahuli and Babanosi? Is the youth interested in being like in active politics, not being a voter, but being the guy who's being voted for?
You're presenting a very interesting question. When you talk about the matter of youth participation, it's multifaceted. It's the person who's in office. It's the person who has a voice. It's also the person who has the ability to drive an initiative or to drive a motive. So whether it's change or maintaining order in whatever form, when we talk about youth participation, it cannot just be in terms of voting, like you said, but also in terms of being present when conversations are had. But it also means being able to have a voice, not just a presence, because you can have a presence without a voice. So in terms of where we are in youth participation, there's a lot to be desired. We've got quite a ways to go. Our young people are disinterested. Our young people are unhappy. To a certain extent, you would understand, because it's a matter of what can we do, and then they decide to move away. But then again, you ask the question: the more we move away, who's going to be left? To bring things back, or at least to consider the angle of the young people, because we're moving into a new age. I mean, we have social media. We have digital media. We have digital everything. We need people who can interact with these phenomena, who can present these ideas before Parliament and Cabinet, in boards, in different levels. So in terms of across the board, are we well represented? I don't want to get myself into trouble. But what I would say is there's a lot to be desired. We still need more young people in different spaces. So
when I'm asking you like this, I'm not saying that like maybe there's someone who's making a decision for young people not to be involved. But are the young people like interested? Are they taking that initiative?
I don't think they are. Let me not say I don't think they're interested. The reason why I said it's a little complicated is because you'll find that in some instances young people don't know the space they can hold. So there's this thing I should start here and then slowly work my way up, and then if I'm lucky by the time I'm 57 I can be in a board somewhere, and then after I retire I can run for elections in Gaborone, Bonington South or something. So there's that order in many of our minds, and I think if we work against that somehow and say no, like you're doing with this podcast, right? not everyone is going to run for elections. Not everybody is going to be minister. But if in our little corners, and we are able to recognize that we can occupy these corners to drive change. So your podcast has been doing well, and it's driving certain initiatives and conversations. I mean, you had Jeff Ramsey not too long ago. So if young people can say, okay, I have this, let me drive this, right? But the problem is a lot of us aren't conscious of that. Our goals, then again, you wouldn't blame a lot of them because the goals now have changed to survival now. Progress and development are a little distant of a dream for many. I mean, many young people are unemployed, many young people are underemployed, many young people are still dealing with poverty, even the poverty of their families. And even those who get into work, they still have black tax and debt and all of that. So there are things that we need to deal with, or many young people are still dealing with, such as surviving. But I think if we are able to deliberately drive narratives of progress, to say we don't just need to survive, we can actually do better. I think the imagination of young people can be further. So I think one of the priorities now would be to get young people to be more active, is to give the young people the gift of reimagination. So give them the ability to reimagine life, not just as it is, but as it could be. Reimagine the economy, reimagine social order, reimagine social interaction, reimagine this, reimagine that. Yeah.
I keep on politicians straight into the point.
Yes, that is.
Bro.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, yeah. So now, are you saying that politics is a sport of the old folk?
It depends how you look at it.
Yeah.
If you let's give an example of what you'd call the top brass now. A lot of them are experienced. Very well experienced, right? They've been around the game for a while.
Yeah.
So in terms of that, and it seems like politics is a game of how long have you been around for, right? I mean, I'll give an example. A lot of members of the Botswana Democratic Party have been unhappy with the placement of the likes of Honorable Rakare and Honorable Morwayeng in strategic positions in cabinet. I mean, recently Honorable Boko has been appointed as consul designate, I think, in Johannesburg in South Africa, alongside the High Commissioner. So a lot of people have been unhappy with the fact that people have moved from opposition into let me say out of opposition. And have moved. So it seems like it's a matter of experience of how long you've been around. I mean, it would be very difficult to run against a person who's been around for a while in a constituency, who's a minister or leading leader or some sort of leader in the party. As a young 18-year-old, for example, and saying I want to be a member of parliament for maybe Sirwe West. So it seems like it's a game of old. But then again, like I talked about the reimagining, it doesn't have to be like that. It is not in the books that it must be like that. I mean, Donald Trump wasn't a politician, but he became president.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we should be able to imagine politics as public service. Jacob Zuma said something very interesting. he had an interview, I think was it leading towards or just after? But around the elections.
Yeah.
So this lady interviews him.
At his house.
At his house.
Yeah, it was before elections.
It was before elections, eh?
Yeah.
The one where they were walking around. So she asks him, don't you think you're too old? I mean, he's in his 80s, eh?
Yeah.
Don't you think you're too old? Why are you coming back? I mean, why don't you give young people the chance?
Mm-hmm.
He says, okay, after they removed me from the presidency, I was away for a while, eh?
Mm-hmm.
He asked a very simple question, where were your young people? Right. Yeah. And that caused me to think, right? Oftentimes you say, but they are not moving for us, you know.
Yeah.
The question is, what are we doing? So it's two-sided. Mm-hmm. Yes, it may seem like this, but there is also responsibility for the fresher to present another front against that order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, well spoken.
I hope I answered.
No, you did answer.
Okay. Can be well spoken but not answer.
No, you did answer.
Yeah.
You did answer. Alright, no, we'll just wait for the time whereby you decide to become an active politician because there's no young people I can represent.
Waiting for you.
No, now I'm old again. So one thing that people don't know, you really take after you did. Like Honana Umrudi.
Okay, yes.
You are also involved in music.
Yes.
You're working closely with KTM. The choir.
Yes.
Yes. And your dad is one of the founders at KTM.
Yes.
Yeah, so you really take well after your dad.
Yeah.
And the looks also, the voices, everything. So let's before we get deep, we'll catch in like he's a pastor, this man. Let's just take us through your pastoral journey.
Okay.
Your click him in Gene actually.
Okay. Yeah. It's a little complicated, eh?
Yeah.
But in short, when I was done with high school, I decided to go study theology.
Okay.
When I began my studies, you're interacting with theology proper.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not just in the church. Now you're wrestling with ideas, you're wrestling with history, you're wrestling with different theologies, philosophies, ideologies, you know, the whole lot.
Yeah.
You're given tools to read the text in new ways, right? So it kind of freshens the biblical text and ideas for you. So when I was there, I was introduced to these new ways of thinking, let me say. I studied in South Africa. I studied at Heidelberg College. It's a small Adventist college in Cape Town. So because being in South Africa and of course considering the history of South Africa, actually what's important is when I got there, it was when the land question was quite heated. It was very heated. So one of the first things that was said to me by a senior was, my pastor, if you as a pastor do not have a comment on the land question, then you've wasted your time here. And I had to wrestle with that statement for a very long time, because I come from a tradition where at least I am more used to an idea that as a pastor your duty is to deal with the church and the church alone, right? To preach Jesus and then bring. But then after that statement, I began to realize in conversations and debates with other students in class that Jesus himself presents this message of hope, this message of love, this message of liberation. In different forms. So I then started reading texts differently. You know, where Amos would then say that the people are abusing and exploiting the poor. You know, where Jesus gives hope to the poor and feeds the hungry. Luke 14 verses 18 and 19 says, I have come to liberate the bonded. English. I finished. I've come to feed the hungry and so on and so forth. So it brings a certain aspect of the gospel, right? So this, I'll say consciousness, then couples with my pastoral ministry, or at least an understanding thereof. So when I leave, or when I graduate, after having wrestled with so many ideas, we don't have time to go through all of them. But having wrestled with all of this, by the time I graduated, then I decided I won't go into full-time ministry. One of the reasons being that I'm of the belief that ministry is not just effected in the church, right? I believe that ministry can be effected in the church, in social spaces, even on stages, right? So in whether talking about the art space or culture spaces, or even talking about how the politics of the time is going, right, where the young people are. I believe that in as much as one can effect ministry by preaching for people to come in and enjoy the fellowship of church, I believe that ministry can also be effected by advocating for certain policies that speak for the people and speak for the poor. And so on and so forth. So in terms of my pastoral journey, it does not find its space in full-time ministry, but it still finds its space in many other ways, which I'm still discovering.
So there's a lot of your peers, huh?
Yeah.
Some that you probably went to school with.
Yeah.
Same age with you.
Yeah.
Pastors, different, they've opened their own churches.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of magic there, bro.
Where's this going?
They're doing a lot of magic, which they call miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah, which they call miracles, and some I'm sure they're using like actors. Just take us through that. Like when I as a pastor who's doing whatever you're doing, what you're studying and what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what's your take on these pastors? Like, Papito Katikibo Papa.
You want to get me to trouble, man. Look, I'll answer this very simply. My answer is very basic. I believe that we should preach Jesus and Jesus alone. Paul says, I preach Jesus and Him crucified. That's my concentration. That's my concentration, because then again, I don't fully understand what's happening in these spaces. So I'm very careful on how I comment on them. My concentration and my focus is on the expansion of the gospel as it is, on a message of hope and love. So how that goes on in those, I don't know.
Some of them, for some heart, it's a money-making scheme. Yeah.
Look, and I will unequivocally state that making money out of what I think Professor Lumumba calls the Jesus industry is very wrong. It's an exploitation of people, and to a certain extent is an exploitation of the poor. I do not want to believe that anyone would do that, but people do. and I would very straightly say it is wrong.
It is wrong.
Now, what I would then say is that it is our responsibility as believers to be able to. We believe that faith is personal. I don't bank my faith on you, right? Faith is personal, and it's a personal experience with God. So I would like if we would think of a relationship with God from that perspective, that when we come into any fellowship, that we start from that angle, such that if Dumisani is a preacher and he's filled with spirits that are foreign to God, that we are able to discern, right? So I believe then it is the responsibility of the believer to be able to discern what moves within the religious spaces or within the Christian spaces. But I go back to focus must be on Jesus and Him crucified.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on. I like the fact that we spoke a bit about politics and now speaking about religion.
Yeah.
There's people who say that religion was a tool that was used to colonize black people. As someone who studied theology, and a bit of history, communications, when I was
Look, it's a very difficult conversation. And I think that it's a conversation that we must give attention to. In our churches and our social spaces. And I think one thing that we must do is to have national dialogues, especially in Southern Africa. One honorable member of parliament who is going to be a friend of mine, but she doesn't know it yet. Honorable Patience Masua said something to that effect for Namibia. When the president, I'm going somewhere, don't worry. When the president of South Africa, currently, Cyril Ramaphosa was running, was campaigning for the ANC, he said that they will give a national dialogue. The reason why I'm presenting this is because there are certain elements of our histories, especially as Southern Africans, that we must deal with. When you deal with the arrival of the Portuguese, the French, later the English, how these different countries and faiths came to play. I mean, one person who came in, I just forgot the name, it's just left me. Is it Cecil John Rose? I'm not sure. One of these gentlemen. When he landed, he prayed a prayer that was to the effect that, help me deal with these savages. Right. So you can already tell that there is an idea that these are subhuman. And in many instances, you can tell that a lot of times there was, for some, there was a bit of what one may call spiritual blackmail. In order to submit economically. Is that to say that all was for that would be left to national dialogue? I do not want to make an overarching statement, but the point I wanted to make is that in terms of economics, society, spirituality and others, we cannot deny the fact that we have had a lot of influence from Western powers, especially within a colonial context. Right. I'll give you a very simple example. There's an article written by a professor. I think he's a professor. Was a professor. Remogalakwe. I think he's left the University of Botswana now. But he writes an article titled "How Britain Underdeveloped Bechuanaland." Right. So he says a lot of things, but one of the things that he says was the introduction of taxes to Botswana influenced many Botswana men having to leave, go to the mines so that they can get money. I get it, because we don't have the currency. The currency is in the mine, so work, get the currency, pay the tax, right? Which means that a lot of society grows up without the male figurehead, which affects us socially. A lot of farms, home farms, suffer because the men are not there. So it affects us economically. But then again, the Botswana person could not run a business, right? This is to say that we have really been affected by our colonial histories. So in terms of the relation between coloniality and religion, it is very possible that in some aspects religion can be or could have been used in that sense. But does it mean that religion is completely an ill? No. What it then calls us to do is then sit down and re-interact with the subject matter of our religion. So I'll give you an example. During apartheid, the apartheid government used religion as one of its proponents to say, no, we are doing the right thing. We are superior. All those who are under our boot must be there, and we are religiously mandated. And black theologians come together and they say, no. The very same text that we are reading speaks of freedom and liberation, and God liberates his people from Egypt. There are very many things that even Jesus says that speak to liberation and the denial of injustice. And so then there is a reimagination and a reinterpretation of the text to say, as black South Africans, we then interact with this subject matter to say that we must fight against any power that seems to refuse the justice that is so well embedded in the biblical text. So coming back to then your question, to say, has the religion been used in that way? There is a great possibility that colonial culture has been mixed with religion, but it doesn't mean that we must deny religion. It means that you must be able to sit down and re-interact with the subject matter, ask the critical and difficult questions, have the difficult conversations, right? But then it would then also affect, the reason why I started with the issues of national dialogue, it would then also affect issues like land, right? Because there are matters of land within the biblical text. So it then would influence a discussion on land, it would influence a discussion on economy, it would affect a discussion on our access to the means of production, it would affect social policy, right? It would affect the poor, it would affect us, how we interact with each other. So I would then say that our duty is to reimagine from our context.
Still on the historical studies and all, colonialism and religion. So who were we worshipping prior to the introduction of Christianity by the colonizers? Who were we worshipping?
You really want to get me into trouble?
No, I'm not going to get into trouble.
That's a very difficult question that I'm still asking. I don't know. And the reason why I say I don't know is because there are many layers to that question. Because some will say no, it was ancestral worship, it was this, it was that, but some would then say that no, but those who came felt like this was foreign to them, and so to them it was witchcraft, right? There are so many layers to the question. One could come and say, no, we're worshipping God, but it was our interaction with God through our history. Another would say that no, some of our tribes came from the Jewish regions, and came down. Some have said that the Bantu-speaking people are originally Jews. I don't know. I don't know. But my point is back to, I think it would need professionals to interact with it from a historical perspective, from a spiritual perspective, from different levels of history. Because then we'd then also have to confront the matter of tribes. Right. The Tswana-speaking tribes, the Ndebeles, the Zulus, the Xhosas. At some point we were together. When did we split? And then who went with what? Those kind of things. So I allow me to avoid that one.
No, we are forgiven. All right. You also mentioned ancestral beliefs, practices. Currently, there's this trend of young people, they're living their lives, and the next thing you see, they're now a sango. It's a trend, it's really happening at the fast pace, and it's disturbing. What's really going on, bro? When I maybe now it's as we don't know.
No, it's not like I know anything about it. But I think what it shows is that in so many levels there are gaps in our society and on a personal level. So for many people, they feel like they're so detached from their identity that in some way being involved in this would bring some semblance of unity with identity. I mean, we've seen an influx. Is it an influx of people saying they're Sangomas, and then we've also seen an outflux of people saying they've changed their minds. Which we must be able to talk about. Because it shows it. I believe that it shows that there is a deeper issue to be discussed. I think it shows that there is a lot more to talk. I think there's a lot more to the issue than too many people are becoming Sangomas. Right? Then again, we also realize that a lot of people are being cheated. Because back to the issue of identity. I mean, some of us are so, and this is not an indictment on anyone. Some of us are so depressed because of many factors that when someone says that the cause of your depression is a spiritual calling, we rush to that, right? Sometimes you may realize that our traumas can influence ideas on spirituality, or because Dumisani wanted money from me or whoever. I'm sorry to use you as an example.
Yeah, it's right, it's okay.
Dumisani is not a Sangom. But back to my point, I think it's a deeper issue. I think we need to talk about it because a lot of people don't know what is actually going on in that front, right? So yeah, I think it's very complicated. And do I know anything in particular? No, I don't. Yeah.
All right. No, it's fine. Hold on, present. Now, still on religion and Jesus, Pastor.
Yeah.
Apparently. You guys love about like women love you and you guys love women a lot.
Really?
That's why, like, yes, we get married at young age. I'm not seeing any silver of how down you feel. So, how are you managing it?
I can't hear your question. The network is down.
Yeah, but that was a temptation. But like, I know there's some, but I know maybe you're not ready, or you want to be somewhere else, but not there.
My man! What's the question?
No, the question is, it's said that a lot of pastors, they love women. And on the other side, women love pastors and they want to be with pastors.
Okay.
I don't know, like, if when those type of guys who they love women. But I'm sure, like, there's women back there after you.
Okay.
How's your experience with women? Like, are they harassing you?
No, my brother, the harassment issue, I don't know.
Yeah, but then
all I can say is focus. No, for me, I don't know what you want me to say. Well, for me, like one pastor has said, I think what matters is focus.
Focus.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's a phenomenon particular. I mean, anybody can extrapolate one of those for anyone.
Yeah.
For anyone. You can feel like ladies like doctors. they can feel like gentlemen, like lady lawyers,
Yeah.
you know. So I think for anybody, it's a matter of focus, and I don't think marriage is an issue to make a decision about out of trying to avoid attention.
Yeah.
I think it's a serious issue that one should decide about soberly. Yeah, but yeah, focus.
Focus.
Yeah.
Focus.
Yeah.
No, I'll ask you this question again off camera, like, because I'm a big brother.
The problem is the camera.
I already know the answer. I'm joking.
Yeah, no, you should tell me, what do you know after?
Yeah, still on focus, we're speaking about the youth earlier, their alignment towards politics and governance issues and stuff like that. So at the moment we have people are complaining, especially about the number social media, the youth is not really like concentrated, focus. Like if tomorrow they're to be the leaders of the world, are they really going to be leaders?
Fair question.
Yeah, I feel like it's a subjective opinion.
Yeah.
Because not everyone is right, not everyone is wrong.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So like we're talking about focus.
Yeah.
Like how's our generation, like your generation?
This is a very controversial issue.
Yeah.
I had a conversation. Well, let me start by saying I've interacted with young people in different spaces, and I can say that if you give young people the space, they will occupy it.
They're occupied.
If you give them the tools, they will use them. Now, the question. Look, this is a generational issue. Almost every generation says, Ghana, our generation was better, this new generation is a problem, and so on and so forth. But I had a conversation with, I don't know if I should say his name, a certain gentleman who is dealing with matters of character and so on and so forth, right, and societal input. And he says the question of this generation, it detaches from, it's as if that generation came out of nowhere, right? It's as if it just came out of smoke. He says that that generation was raised by the generation before, and so on and so forth. I think there's a lot more to this generation than we may think, and maybe we haven't had the necessary conversations to understand. I think this generation was the first to be exposed to digital media, right? I mean, imagine being 5 years old in the time of social media. Imagine being 12 years old in the time. I mean, nowadays, maybe every third post is an insult. I mean, to interact with people as a kid, when you were a kid, you had to go outside, But nowadays, you can play a game and somebody is there playing with you online, and they can say whatever they want. This generation has been affected by many factors. Some that have gone through the generations, some that have been from difficulties between generations, and some like COVID-19, which are unique to generations. I think we need to be kind to this generation. This generation has seen quite a bit. Not saying that others haven't, of course. Another will say, we've been through war. But all I'm saying is, I think we need to be kinder to this generation. I think we need to be a little more deliberate with this generation. There's one issue, the matter of mental health. So they'll say, this generation is sensitive, and all that. But then you then ask the question of, is talking about trauma and realizing that certain traumas have been there, is that being sensitive? Not saying that there may be some who are overly sensitive, but it doesn't mean that we must cancel everything out, right? So I think we need to be kinder in our interactions, but what I believe is that the way to progress is for us to have an intergenerational. I keep going back to this conversation thing,
No, it's fine.
But I think we need to have conversations, not just nationally, but in our churches, in our families, in our different smaller units, between generations, where we say, young people, actually, I've had this experience. I was preaching at a church in Jwaneng, Seventh Adventist Church in Jwaneng, for a week. And on the first Saturday there, they had, instead of going out, it was a global youth day, so usually the young people of different churches would say, let's go out, outreach, and do something. This time they're like, you know what, we're going to sit together and we're going to deal with our issues. And one of the things that they did was to say, go into your different groups, youth, parents, young ones, and then young ones. Well, young ones couldn't talk much, but so everybody was in their different groups. And when we came back, we reconvened. The young ones would go, no, we want our privacy, don't just walk into our rooms, And then the youth would say their things. And then the parents would present their struggles. And only then do you realize that, hey, our parents are struggling, And sometimes it's because of those struggles that they don't realize certain things that we are struggling with. So I think an honest conversation where we can balance out and say, okay, look, these are the struggles of this generation, and then these are the struggles of this generation. I mean, this generation has YouTube. A developed YouTube, not just YouTube. This one is not where a cat is skateboarding. Now you deal with ideas. Now you deal with debates. Now young people can actually access information wherever they would want it. So it can be overwhelming, right? So what I'm saying is, I think we need an honest conversation. I think we need to be kinder to each other. We face different things as generations. I mean, this generation has had to deal with COVID-19 at a young age. Imagine being 10 and dealing with COVID, and so much death. I mean, one would say that no, but when you're at a certain age, you can, deal with the death differently. But imagine a 7-year-old, 10-year-old having to watch so many people in the family pass away. I think we need to be kinder to each other.
All right. So you mentioned the issue of mental health within generation, and you emphasized that this current generation is suffering from mental health.
All of us. But yeah.
So I just want to pick something from you. Are you saying that the previous generations, like mental health? Because my take is that this mental health topic was well addressed in the current times, and young people were quick to get attracted to it. But I feel like it's something that has been going on for centuries.
No, it has.
Yeah.
It has. Yeah. It really has. This might get me into trouble. Yeah. But if you look at, let's take a biblical example. Is it Elijah?
Yeah.
Elijah. Yes, it's Elijah. Elijah comes to a point where he's been through a lot, and he says, "God, I just want to die." Right? Yeah. Is that not depression?
Yeah, it is.
Right. Jesus prays, "Let this cup pass from me, but not my will, but yours." Right.
Yeah.
And the text says, and he was in anguish. Yeah. Now, if you look at that word carefully, it may also indicate deep stress, and So we can also say that at some point Jesus did deal with depression, right? This is to say that the human experience comes with a lot of suffering, including internal suffering, right? So we can't really say that issues of mental illness and the necessity for mental health, kind of this terminology is very tricky, are new to this generation. Maybe a realization of them is new. So I don't think that this generation is the only one that has done. It has been around, but maybe the former generations have dealt with them differently. I know some generations would just say suck it up and move on, but then someone would say, but when you suck it up and move on, you pass it on to your children, and they pass it on to their children, and so on and so forth. So it's a serious issue that's not just for this generation. It's been around.
It's been around.
Yeah.
Bro, like at such a young age, it's like I like to speak all these things, bro. Like I've been looking at you, like listening, like yeah.
I don't know.
do you like utilize this talent to do like motivational speaking, like go to corporates, talk to them and stuff like that?
I haven't broken into the corporate space.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. It would be nice to.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
Yeah.
But I haven't broken into the corporate space. Where I have used it, then again, breaking into industries is another challenge.
Yeah.
I've emceed a wedding. Yes, I've emceed a wedding. I've emceed a wedding anniversary. Oh, I've emceed 2 weddings. Yes.
Yeah.
I've tried podcasting. It's hard. I don't know how you do it. It's hard, that thing.
No, you have to be patient.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But it also goes with skill. Editing is that's what's been trapping me.
Yeah.
But in terms of, well, I've one space that has taken advantage of me. That's not a nice word. That has used me is the church space.
Church space.
Not only in terms of preaching, but also in terms of I don't want to say teaching, but teaching and also interacting with young people. So there is one I appreciate very greatly. That's the School of the Prophets, run by the South Botswana Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. It's a very long name. So
that's where you were last week.
That's where I was last week.
Yeah.
So it's young people 16 to 21, where they're trained on fundamental beliefs of the church.
Yeah.
But I think in my being there, for me it's not just the Seventh-day Adventist Church believes in this, but for me it's a matter of can our young people interrogate? Can our young people ask questions? Can our young people deal with difficult questions? So sometimes if I see that they are not asking difficult, I ask them difficult questions, right? They'll be like, but my thing is I use that to sort of give them the idea that I'm not just here to feed you information. I'm giving you the tools to find information for yourself. But in terms, going back, I talk a lot, I love these.
Yeah.
If it was somewhere else, be like, no, our time is up. But
like we're going for a short air break.
At least that you can breathe. But I would, honestly speaking, I'd really love to break into motivational speaking space, into a corporate space. Yeah, I'd really love to. I haven't yet, but I'd really love to.
It starts with you switching on that camera on your smartphone.
Nah.
Just throw a 5-minute strong motivational word, post it online.
That's true. I actually should do that.
Yeah.
I actually should do
Every
that.
day post 2 videos. Every day. After a month you'll see the difference.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. And actually I think I love that you say that,
Yeah.
So one thing I've come to appreciate is that when I say I've tried podcasting, so what I would do, I got a camera, I got some basic stuff. I'd record, edit, post. Record, edit, post. And I did okay, right? And people would say, so what I would do is commentary, so social commentary, political commentary across the world.
Yeah.
Right? So I'd go, in France, the this and that is happening in the US. There's a debate on if Biden should still be president. All of that.
Yeah.
In Botswana. So I'd do that for a while and then I stopped.
Yeah.
And then I would do commentary. I did a review of Pula.
Yeah, the musical.
Of Pula the musical, which did quite well.
Yeah.
I did a video for KTM went left, when it was going to Korea last year. I did a video just before they came back after they had won their gold. I have done a few videos from there. Recently I've done a few live videos. But the point I'm making is, I think just trying, even though it may not be 175%, allows you to kind of find your space. So I can actually proudly say that the voice I had last year at this time is different from today, you know. The way I speak now is different from how I spoke last year. So I think for all of us, in whatever way, I think just try.
Try again.
Just try.
Because you can also venture into mentorship, like of teaching young people how to speak, like how to have confidence and stuff like that.
Actually, shouldn't be saying this, but I'm one thing I have appreciated in my own life is people who have deliberately invested either time or some sort of knowledge and wisdom in my advancement. And so I've decided to say, I don't have much in terms of knowledge and industry know-how and acumen, but to say the little that I have, why don't we try and push the young people to do better than what we have done, and well, I'm still young, but those who are younger than us, to do better than what we could ever do. Right, and I think that's that's a very great thing that anyone can do. So I'm trying to move into that space, and I hope it bears fruit.
It will. So G,
yes, sir.
We're running out of time here. I think because we haven't even touched half of the conversation.
No, we haven't.
I think we need to do a part 2.
Yeah, no, definitely. We will.
I wouldn't be doing justice to you if we don't talk about your involvement with KTM.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing with KTM? Because we've never seen you singing there, but like...
No. It's very basic. I am organically connected to KTM.
Okay.
And nobody can do anything about that. And so where I find a place to do what I can do to better the organization, I will do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So like recently in the gospel night, I helped them here and there. I also did their voiceover.
Okay.
What do they call in the creative industry? What you guys call in the creative industry? The voice of God.
Yes, the voice of God.
So I did that for them. So basically, I'm organically connected to KTM.
You're an administrator then?
No. I have no job. I have no position in KTM. I'm. Some would unofficially say I'm a friend of KTM.
Because those guys, like when they started, they are like...
No, keep it by me. A lot of them, even those who are no longer singing for KTM, keep it by me. Those who are in there, keep it by me, keep on Konne. So, I like I said, nobody can do anything about that.
It's like a pastor in this Bible.
Exactly. Even if you try and take it away.
Well, the funny thing is today it didn't come carrying your Bible.
It's here. and here. We are digital pastors now.
This other time he went to preach using his laptop. But you guys like Ari is projecting the other projector. There was a video. It left people became blind. Like they were holding their head like how you
do. Airplane mode. Okay.
So as a root out advice, you keep it traditional.
No, actually, what you're saying is a very, very important thing. You see the issue of symbol. Symbol is very important. The reason why the EFF goes into parliament wearing overalls and the maid's outfits is because of symbol. So when a person sees them doing that, they say, even I can get into parliament, So I think our goal must be to reach the people, whether it's a pastor, a motivational speaker, a CEO, or whoever. If we're going to speak to people, even a politician, if we're going to speak to people, then we must use symbols that people can interact with. In the church, we use the Bible. So even if I'm reading from my phone, so sometimes I have a version that I do not prefer. What I would do is I take my phone, put it inside the Bible, right? So that at least people can see the Bible. Sometimes even if you are not reading from it, you bring it, put it on the pulpit, and read from your phone. So the symbol is very important.
It's important.
Yeah.
No, Seji, thank you for coming through to the 20th Avenue podcast.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So looking forward for part 2, and part 2 will be burning, issues.
Yeah, I know it must be hot.
Yeah, you end up removing your jacket, you will be burning.
No, get out like a vest.
No, who can you can close it for us, with your voice of God, the 20th Avenue podcast.
I don't like that term.
Creative term. It's a creative term.
Oh, yes.
No, the floor is yours.
Just closing remarks.
Yes.
Okay. No, thank you very much for the call. I'm very honored to come to this great platform and share the platform with the greats such as Bolizibo, Jeff Ramsey and others. But I think one thing that is fundamental for everyone, like I said before, I think we must be able to reimagine something new. Whether in whatever space we are in. I think as Africans we must be able to reimagine a possibility of us being in a developmental and progressive trajectory. God has given us the skills that He has given us, and God has given us the mandate He has given us, not only to benefit ourselves, but to benefit each other. So Ubuntu must come into action. In that those with maize must give those with cows, and those with cows must give those with maize. There's a term I like in Setswana, badi now. Essentially, those with horses, but those who have must work together to those who do not, to benefit all. The reason why I'm saying this is everybody has a space. And if we can imagine ourselves taking up our spaces and occupying our spaces, then I believe that we can start the conversation of progression and development. So all of us have a role. Let's take up our roles and let's do it.
All right.